Well, it looks like this might be the beginning of the end for LEGO Star Wars. As if Star Wars prices weren't already high enough, LEGO decided, hey, what if we made this shit fucking worse? As I'm sure most of you are aware at this point, yesterday LEGO held a presentation revealing their brand new smart bricks, smart tiles, and smart minifigure elements, and alongside that they revealed 3 new Star Wars sets that'll be utilizing those elements, and oh, this looks fucking bad. See, we all kind of knew about this from leaks a couple months prior, but never did I think it was going to be this bad. The 3 sets are the Emperor's Throne Room Duel with A-Wing, which is $160. Oh, fuck, I thought that was $150. Not even 1,000 pieces. Luke's Red 5 X-Wing, which is $100 and 581 pieces. And Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, which is $70 with 473 pieces. Holy shit. This is obviously coming off the back of a pretty egregious 2025, with $40 battle packs and sets that don't even break 1,000 pieces costing over $150. And it looks like that shit is not fucking changing. But the difference between these sets and last year's sets is that the 2025 sets at least looked good. Other than the Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, which, let's be honest, is probably the worst looking one we have gotten so far, although it is still kind of good, the other 2 sets here look like absolute dog shit. The X-Wing here looks almost exactly like the Juniors build we got a couple years ago. In fact, the actually moderately priced X-Wing from 2021, when they were trying to make Star Wars prices a little more reasonable for the consumer, that looks leagues better than what we're getting here. And literally, this looks like a fucking Juniors build. And the Emperor's Throne Room. Holy shit, we get the smallest throne room imaginable just so we could have this monstrosity of a dueling center that has no reason to be there. Look, I think we all know at this point that one of the major criticisms against LEGO, especially within the 2020s, is the fact that they've completely shifted their focus from kids to mainly focusing on adults. And when you look at it like that, it seems like this whole smart play wave of sets is trying to remedy that one core issue. They aren't doing a good fucking job at that. Yeah, the sets are more playable and they're more interactive than ever, and it's something that, you know, a kid would enjoy to play with. But no kid is paying $70 for a fucking TIE Fighter or $100 for a fucking X-Wing. No parent is actually going to do that. Speaking from personal experience, I think the most I've ever had my parents spend on LEGO, especially like, you know, on birthdays and Christmases, is maybe upwards of like $130. I remember like the 2 biggest sets I ever got for Christmas was the Winter Village Cottage in 2012 and the Arkham Asylum from 2013, neither of which actually surpassed that $150 threshold. Yet LEGO expects parents to spend $160 on the Emperor's Throne Room, and there's not even much there to begin with. If you've watched me for a while, number 1, thank you. I don't know how the fuck you managed to do that, but number 2, I am a huge price per part guy, but I also can acknowledge that if a price per part ratio isn't great, the actual contents of what you get is just as important. That's something that City used to deal with, and something that you could argue that Star Wars dealt with. Yeah, you know, you might not get as many pieces in a Star Wars set, but you're gonna get a much bigger build. Similarly, with City, you might not get, you know, as many pieces as you would get in, like, I don't know, like a Minecraft set or something like that, but you would get a pretty sizable build that would, you know, that would feel like the value of what you're paying for, and you're just not getting that here. And yeah, I get it, the smart brick technology is definitely going to cost a lot more, and, you know, if they do end up showing up in more sets and they become cheaper to produce, they, you know, they might, you know, end up only elevating prices just a little bit. But that ain't the case right now. And also, the smart bricks, for as cool as they are, they're one of those kind of gimmick things that you just kind of like, oh, it's cool, and then you just never really touch again. I don't get why you couldn't just include, I don't know, a light brick or a sound brick for a slightly elevated price rather than a monstrosity price with what we're looking at now. Yeah, you want the characters to make noises, or you want to make the ships sound like they're going, but nothing really beats, you know, the childhood or like, you know, the childlike swooshing of an X-Wing. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Ironically enough, it does prove a point that was made right before LEGO actually started producing Star Wars sets. When they announced that they were going to start doing licensed themes, there was quite a lot of LEGO enthusiasts who were actually opposed to that being the case, because the argument they made was that it would limit creativity. And although, you know, LEGO Star Wars sets, especially back then, you know, you had alternate instructions. You could make different things. They wanted you to make different things out of the sets you had rather than just what the instructions provided. In a way, all these years later, it's kind of proven that point. The smart brick and the smart minifigure and all the smart technology being used just kind of takes away the point of, you know, having your minifigures go on this, you know, adventure that you had, you know, you created in your head. You're getting rid of all of that creativity and, you know, just imagination, and replacing it with something that's just, I don't know, really superficial and is honestly really just a gimmick. And also, on a slightly other side note, why is Lego Star Wars still as relevant as ever, at least in Lego's mind? I mean, let's be real, I was a lifelong Star Wars fan up until really recently. Star Wars as a brand has really imploded on itself in the last 5 years, and to a point that I don't think it's going to really recover. So I don't know how Lego or Disney, whoever's making the decision to charge way more for Star Wars sets, I think it's a combination of both. I don't know how they can really justify upping those prices, given that Star Wars is not as popular as it used to be. I mean, you could probably argue that up until probably 2015, Star Wars was probably Lego's best theme, especially throughout the 2000s. But in the 2020s, Star Wars is less relevant than ever. And if, you know, I was to think of any theme that's, you know, worthy of having slightly elevated prices just because of brand recognition, it isn't Star Wars. And that's another thing. Yeah, I do believe this smart brick technology and all the new kind of technological advancements they've made is going to cost a pretty penny. But they've also done it before. That's also why I don't think a lot of people are really wowed by this technology, because they really kind of, you know, did that back in 2020 with the Lego Super Mario theme. And hey, guess what? There have been arguments made that the Lego Super Mario theme is a little overpriced, but you can't argue that what you get for what you pay for does seem to be pretty fair for the most part, which is unlike what we are seeing here. I just think this whole thing is just a really bad combination, given the reputation not only of the Star Wars brand, but also Lego Star Wars as of late. This might be the thing, you know, might be the final nail in the coffin to actually kind of start the decline of Lego Star Wars, to the point that we might not get as many sets as we would like, as, you know, I don't think it's going to be bringing in as much money as Lego would think, especially these 3 sets in particular. But there is one small thing that I do want to mention before I go, and that's the summer 2026 sets, because if we're looking at some of the descriptions that we're getting, it does look a little promising. Over the last couple of years, I think we can all agree that Lego Star Wars has just become way too samey. But looking at some of the set names that we could be getting for the summer of 2026, there are some pretty promising things here. The things that stand out to me is the $180 Ewok Village, as well as the $60 Episode 2 Bounty Hunter Pursuit. Those are 2 sets that, you know, we never get. We got a D2C Ewok Village, I believe, back in 2013, and the last Bounty Hunter Pursuit, or really anything Episode 2, I don't think we've seen an Episode 2 related set since that wave in 2013. And, you know, obviously for the Bounty Hunter Pursuit, we haven't seen that since like the early 2000s. So to be getting those 2 kinds of sets, they do seem a bit promising, and all of the prices here, I don't know what to think. I want to see more details come out, particularly price per part ratios. For instance, if the Ewok Village is only going to be like, I don't know, 1,200 pieces, I don't think $180 is going to be great. And also, I could easily see the Episode 2 Bounty Hunter Pursuit for $60 having like, I don't know, 300 or 400 pieces. Maybe that's not the case, and maybe this is kind of a turnaround where they know this smart brick technology is not going to be as, you know, a bestseller as they would like. But, you know, who knows? I would like to, you know, just get the, you know, the piece counts first before I make any judgments on it. But to get a Sandcrawler, to get potentially Zam Weasel and those land speeders or whatever the fuck were on Coruscant, and to get another Ewok Village, that is a bit of a promising prospect. Happy New Year. Obviously, this is my first video of the new year. I do actually have shit planned for the channel this year. Some of those videos should be coming out soon. Yeah, that's it.